thank you, first of all. Thank you, Giovanni, and thank you to everybody, because the first day was very rich of new information and new projects and many things to be reflected on. And first of all, I introduced Dan Petrică, Agora University of Oradea, and he will speak to us about AI and creativity. And I call here the other panelist, Jouke Verlinden, University of Antwerp. Urs, thank you for coming with us. Pietro Simonetti. And Tetiana Botsva from the chamber, the craft chamber of Crane. So thank you, and please, Dan, open the dance.
Yeah. Testing. Okay, it works. Okay, so my name is Dan Petrică. I'm a university lecturer at Agora University in Oradea. And I also work for a company, we call it a scale-up. It's almost a corporation now, that uses AI systems to gather news about bad people and create a database of said bad people, and we sell that data to banks. So imagine gathering a lot of unstructured data, making it into a strict format, and then reselling it. And I work there as a researcher. That's basically me. So why am I speaking to you today? I am no expert in AI. I have, well, very few formal training on AI specifically, but at some point I just saw how LLMs were evolving, and I said, wow, this will change the future of everything, and I need to be on board, because if I'm not, I will be missing out. I'll try to stay a bit further away. Okay, so what to expect from this short intervention? I try to pack as much information, relevant information as possible in a short amount of time, so it will probably not flow great, but hopefully it will be a nice puzzle that you can unravel afterwards. The presentation will be circulated. I won't go through each of the slides because I usually do 2-hour workshops, so I'm not really good at sticking to 10 minutes. I'll try my best, and please warn me if I overstep. So as an introduction, I think that AI development has reached an inflection point. We now have models that exhibit reasoning, vision, and generation capabilities across multiple mediums. And a very interesting fact is that 73% of employers prioritize AI fluency over domain experience. This data is extracted from a skills report created by LinkedIn. So, and again, in my personal opinion, there is no longer a conversation about digital skills without putting AI literacy into the conversation. I also want to thank other panelists and you for posing great questions about AI. That was a great prequel. You've seen that in any plenary session, AI was at least tangentially a topic of discussion. That means that it can no longer be ignored at this point in time. So specifically about how AI is used by students. Again, great prequel. We now know that approximately 92% of students use AI for their student work. I gathered some data from various surveys, but let's place the ballpark number at 92%. By comparison, we know that somewhere in between 30 and 60% of teachers use AI in their work. So that paints a clear picture. Now students use AI more than teachers, often without proper guidance. AI education materials focus on anti-plagiarism and all sorts of ethical use cases. So they are quite restrictive. But few institutions have embedded AI literacy courses into their curricula. They have not even tailored courses to accommodate an AI component. Well, that means that, as usual, we as educators, teachers, trainers are playing catch-up. It's a cat and mouse game, and we are far behind. What do we need to do? Well, in order to create said curricula for the students, we first have to learn about AI systems ourselves. Are we doing that? Well, I'll leave each of you to consider their trajectory and the courses they've taken into this domain, or the preparation they've had. Now, a bit about the past and the future of AI. So I've told you that I first encountered ChatGPT. It's not signaled on this table. It was 2022, and I said to myself, okay, this is a game changer. It will change everything forever, and I need to get on board. We are now in the GPT 4.0 era. This has the capacity of a PhD level researcher. What will happen in the future? In probably 3 to 4 years, maybe 5, we will achieve artificial general intelligence. That means the system will be as powerful as a team of global researchers, top researchers, mind you. In 7 to 10 years, we will reach super intelligence level. That basically means that everybody will have in their pocket something surpassing the entire knowledge of humankind. And you will have that available at the press of a button. So, how does this relate to creativity? Well, there has been a lot of back and forth. Okay, is AI generation actually creative? Can we call it creativity? And the consensus was that we would rather not call it creativity. Their outputs are not creative because they don't resemble human creativity. They miss some parts. However, in human creativity tests, they surpass humans at this point. So we'd rather call it generative AI in order to not offend anybody, especially those working in creative fields. Usually when I do these presentations, I told you they're quite practical and they last for 1 to 2 hours. And sometimes I don't really create a presentation before, I do it on the spot. How do I do that? I call it the lazy scholar exercise. I ask ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, depending on the public, to create a presentation for me. So I did that beforehand because I want to explain, to give a couple of pointers. Maybe they will be helpful. In this case, my pointers are as follows. If you're prompting any system and you want to become good at prompting, you need to input two important sentences in any prompt. Any prompt. First, you need to tell it what to role play as. So ask ChatGPT who he is. In this case, I told him that he's an expert in AI. The second very important pointer would be no placeholders. Add the text no placeholders in any prompt if you want it to hallucinate less. It will still hallucinate, but it will hallucinate significantly less. Okay. Then it created the presentation. Of course, needless to say that they are not perfect. The presentations are not perfect. Any output is not perfect. It does, from my experience, it does like 80% of the heavy lifting. You have to do the 20% 100% yourself. That means looking for missing information, for misleading information, using your critical thinking skills, and adapting everything it gives you as a response. What I found very interesting from a random presentation it generated is what I've highlighted here. Some sentences. AI doesn't replace creativity, it changes the way creativity happens. It augments it, it accelerates it. Sometimes it even inspires it. Think of AI as a creative partner, not a competitor. Because I also told it the public, it generated some ideas of what AI can do creatively, and it went into design and prototyping, crafts and personalization, and training and upskilling, because it knows that's the general public I'm addressing to, or in this case, he's addressing to. It's very weird to call him a he, not an it, but it happens all the time for me. Okay, so since I'm going on the clock, other pointers. In order to avoid hallucinations, especially while you're creating academic papers, you can use several other tools. I won't speak about them, but they're included here. They access paper databases, they're restricted to that, and they don't hallucinate. So we have several businesses operating in the field. Of course, it can also create PowerPoints for you. They can create a macro which you can actually embed, and it simplifies your life by quite a bit. I told you it was going to be a puzzle. So now I want to go to some examples of where ChatGPT or something similar can be used in the arts and crafts environment. And one example that came to mind is well, I'm from Romania, and specifically from the county of Bihor, and we have some traditional garments. And there was a scandal back in 2017 because Dior inspired themselves from those garments. Of course, you didn't have intellectual property rights for traditional garments back then, so it was basically some sort of knockoff. Okay, and from that, I wanted to point out that artisans can inspire themselves in the fashion industry, well, not by plagiarizing and by breaking intellectual property, although that's very debatable if not any generation of an image is in some way breaking intellectual property. But these are some examples and the associated prompts. So you can use it in the creative space in order to generate ideas for garments, in this case for tables and woodworking, jewelry. You can use it, of course, for writing. In this case, I told it to create a poem as if it were Sylvia Plath. And in music generation, I actually created 2 songs today. I'm not going to play all of them, but I'll try playing a bit of one. So the lyrics are generated via ChatGPT and then created into a song by Suno. It's some sort of a rap song.
Boats in the harbor, breeze on the stone. Old walls listening to futures unknown. From the craftsman's brush to the coder's plan. We gather, we listen, we build where we stand. Minds from the Balkans, hands from the north. Ideas rolling in, not held back.
Okay, the idea behind this was very, very simple. I just told it to gather information, ChatGPT to gather all the information it could about the Skillman event in Ancona and to create subsequent lyrics regarding that event. So he created 2 songs. Again, you'll have all the examples, and you can play around with the generating tools. What can it also do? It can be used in room design. This is business called Room GPT. You basically feed it a picture of a room and tell it to design that room in a specific way. So the inputs are on your left and the outputs are on the right. Other examples. Now, this is a very interesting one. Back in 2023, the capability of video generation by AI, this was the leading competitor back then, were like this. This is what it could create just 2 years ago. And this is what Sora can create right now, by comparison. Again, you have the prompts there. Sometimes I want to play with it and misspell a bunch of words to see if it can still identify what I wanted to say, not what I actually said. And it works quite good. Okay, of course you can create presentations instantly with some products just by adding the information in that product, and it creates everything, including imagery and movies by itself. So I've also included a selection of prompting techniques. I'm not going to go into them, but just to recap, to avoid hallucinations, tell it no placeholders, always tell it what it is. You should tell it what the public you're addressing to is, even if you're the public. You can, of course, ask questions, and examples are welcome. If you can give it an example, the outputs will be significantly better. I would say 70% better. Okay, I've also included resources for research, resources for creative endeavors, not going to go into them, and all sorts of tools that can be used by teachers, students, creative people, craftsmen, and all of the sorts. So I think I'm far beyond time. With that, I thank you, and I hope it was somewhat valuable. One thing I also wanted to point out before I end. Usually when I do these presentations, again, they're very, very long. And sometimes the audience is mixed. So I have students and teachers. And each time I ask them, telling them that I want to provide 5% extra relevant information. Have I achieved that? And for students is, yeah, maybe 5%. So that is very uplifting for me. But teachers say that it's sometimes 30%, 50%. Again, going back to how much these two categories of people use AI. So it's 50% new information for teachers, and about 5, maybe 10% for students. This again is a prequel for our further discussion. Okay, we know that AI skills are necessary, but who is going to teach them? Because we as educators, I fear, are not yet prepared. And there's this very interesting debate that happened yesterday, very, very short debate, with some panelists saying, okay, we should act now. And some panelists saying, no, we should do some research into how things are used and then act. And I feel like that is the situation we're in right now as educators. We are very early, but maybe too late. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dan. Very inspiring presentation, and it's really interesting, the gap between the students and teachers. And you can imagine the gap we have with entrepreneurs, because it's totally different for them to learn to use such an instrument nowadays. I would like to hear the thinking about what we heard and the use of AI, but not only AI in creativity. How can technologies, of course, AI, as Dan said, is everywhere, but just to understand how we can help boosting creativity and boosting orange economy, because we are speaking about that too, with new technologies, and also how the system of education and training can help entrepreneurs to be more competitive in this new world. And I will leave the floor to Jouke. You have the microphone over there. Oh, yes.
Thank you. If it's working.
The blue one, please.
It is
okay.
working. It should be working. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dan, for your... Technology is working. We're still in the present and not in the future. So that's the problem sometimes, especially with these kind of panels. I wanted to start saying that I actually have a long history, a history also with Giovanni, first talking about enabling technologies. At that time, it was additive manufacturing and advanced manufacturing. We focused on skilling for the industry of the future with robots and these kind of things. And suddenly now we're in a panel talking about this kind of software, which is kind of everywhere and nowhere at the same time. So, and somewhere in between, we kind of met to talk about handwork, handcrafts. So that's also something that both Skillman and also my research is kind of focusing on. And my background is actually ICT, so computer science, but I work in the field of design. And my lab is called the Augmented Crafting Lab, focusing especially on these kind of enabling technologies and how it can help designers and also the creative sector, and not to supersede it. So that's also an important thing, that we create a new space for humans and not just for machines. And I think it's also interesting to see that in my lab, and it's also happening in other labs, I have doctorates, PhDs, but I also have doctorates in the arts. So, which is also very kind of interesting, because also artists are also exploring exactly the same tools as as were presented. So it's not just that the lay people are using it, but also professionals are using it, and they can also kind of just break the event horizon a little bit more than some of us might do. So if we talk about AI, my main point is this quote from Jaron Lanier. Jaron Lanier, a well-known pioneer on social media and a critiquer about it. And he says, the danger isn't that AI it destroys us, it's that it drives us insane. So what you can see with AI and with generative artificial intelligence is that it actually has an impact not just on all the power that it has, but it also has the power to confuse us. It confuses teachers, it confuses learners, and it also confuses public bodies. It's also now invading the whole world of the criminal world, in a sense. So there's a lot of creativity, you could argue, in good spam messages and in good kind of ways to kind of get people. And the same happens with other ways to kind of influence the public opinion on certain aspects. So artificial intelligence has a lot of negative points, and it can drive us insane. So we have to make sure that there are guardrails. We have to make sure that we can educate our students and our teachers about the positive and the negative sides about that. And there's also a geopolitical thing here. So if in the past, again, with Giovanni and others, my research was on robotics. There's all the robotics, and actually Università della Marche also used to work a lot on robotics. Now all the robotics research is basically taken over by China and Asia. So there's very little innovation happening in the European sphere. For AI, it's kind of out there, but you mainly have the US. So how can we make sure that Europe can play a role in not just innovating, but also in making sure that there are guardrails and that it's authentic in its enabling technology and not just confusing us and driving us insane or making the political agenda of somebody else more important than ours. Another argument is that AI can be very positive, as Dan showed. That you can improve a scientific article, or you can start with a new research, or train yourself in a field that you aren't aware of. And my particular interest also for Tracks for Crafts, which is a European project that we collaborate on, is to see how we can use AI to kind of do a non-linear associative learning with videos. There's a lot of tutorials online about, for example, embroidery, or about other kind of wood crafts or ceramics. Sometimes they're kind of in a specific language, and you might not have that particular language in your skill set, so you want a translation. But it's also about making sure that you can do this in an associative kind of way, that you can have a conversation with maybe a tutor about particular kind of aspects of a craft, and deepen your knowledge about materials, or deepen your knowledge about particular processes or instruments in ways that you might not do if you're just consuming videos. Like, there's a lot on Instagram, there's a lot on Vimeo, there's a lot on YouTube, but couldn't we make like an associative kind of way to go from one video to another video to another video? And actually that could be part of learning in the future. It could be in performative arts, it could be in crafts, it can be in other sectors. And that is a way that we can harness actually the information that's already there. So it's not new, but it's new associations that we can make. And also that learning path can also be identified and be seen. Okay, now you did so many videos, and there's also some qualification checks and so forth, that this can be a unique way to make your own curriculum. So that would be my point for now.
Thank you, Jouke. And considering that one of the key words is creativity, which is the title of our panel, I would make a link with the presentation of Julian yesterday about entrepreneurial education, and the creativity was one of the key words of this presentation. And so, considering that we are speaking about creativity and we are speaking also about entrepreneurship, I would like to leave the floor to Tetiana, just to understand what they are doing as the Ukrainian Chamber for Handicraft. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Handicraft Chamber Ukraine and our vision in our project Resilient.UA that my colleague Marina Popovich already presented yesterday. And I do believe that it's a perfect place to talk about resilient workforce, resilient labor markets, resilient micro and small enterprises, because we do believe that resilience itself is a skill that can be trained. So now, as a European civilization, we are entering the age where our professional identity is no longer a question of what job should I find, what job should I apply to, but our professional identity is an answer to a question: what meaningful thing can I achieve through life? So what is my professional purpose? And in our project, working with Ukrainian veterans, with internally displaced people, we are facing a deep identity crisis. They're returning from the war, or they're moving from the industrial region to like more agricultural regions, losing their professional identity, losing the part of their self. And we believe that with micro-credential, with AI-enabled individualized learning paths, we can bring this professional identity back to them. But that's what we are facing. But if we look more globally, professional identity crisis, it's what's happening all over the world with skilled workers that are afraid to be replaced by the technology or replaced by automation, by robotics. And it also, when the AI is redefining the art and creativity, the artists are facing their professional crisis. But the question, I believe, it's not will AI take our jobs. I encourage you to look in other way, in other paradigm. So now AI is really taking routine tasks, and it literally forces us to shift our vision, our paradigm from formal employment to a really meaningful work, meaningful job, meaningful tasks. And also meaningful professional role. And it's a part of our resilient UA work with veterans because they need true professional reintegration, not just a nice number of employment. Because beyond income, what truly matters is the sense of purpose, sense of professional identity, sense of belonging. And I believe that micro-credentials with AI-enabled professional development algorithms can build a very flexible and very unique, very personalized learning path. And micro-credential makes it flexible, both on the individual level and the society level. It's a sad truth that like war in Europe is no longer a distant nightmare. It's one of the possible opportunities and scenarios. And we are not talking only professional reintegration. Vice versa is also true. With micro-credential, with online learning tools, with personalized learning experience, we can give people the opportunity to be useful in times of crisis, to build their unique skill set for the times of crisis. Like in Ukraine, it's people learning to assemble drones or make camouflage nets. They learn fast and they feel useful for their community, on the community level, on the national level. And if we are talking AI in the professional development field, yes, AI has no human nature. AI maybe not a human, but it also doesn't judge. It has no bias. The AI professional consulting or career tools won't look at you as a former someone if you would like to change your career path. It would look at your opportunities, at your skills, and at your goals, and it can build a career path that's suitable for you, that is meaningful to you. And also, if we're talking resilient micro and small enterprises, which we do, and since the Handicraft Chamber of Ukraine is long into the business education for small businesses, it's very important that our current focus is on the efficient of the business, and where micro-credentials and AI can also make the business more efficient. With veterans turning into craft, into woodwork, into farming, to find peace in mind, to find their new self, it's important that this business is successful. And AI taking away the routine, AI helping them to build their financial strategy, and those AI-enabled tools, they help them to succeed, which is very important for this target population. Thank you.
Thank you, Tetiana. And I have some ideas, but first I will ask to Urs one thing, because one of the key phrase in this case is knowledge is not a power. And before on the screen appeared a sentence, how scholar can bear this influence of AI, because in this moment, knowledge is not a power, it seems. So I would like to have your opinion about that, because I I don't agree totally because, but I would like to hear what you think about that.
Many thanks. I think it's a very interesting situation where we are in. And I think all of you can remember very well when we had our masks and went out, not without or with. And I think we can say we are in a multi-disrupted time. And many people think, okay, that needs changes. And parallel, we see the development of artificial intelligence and IT. And this combination is, for me, difficult. Because we all think, or many people think, and I said in the preparatory of this panel, I will be the bad guy in the panel. And all the people are thinking, that's great. Artificial intelligence is making the changes for us. And we don't have to think about changes and creativity. We don't have to be creative anymore. We can safely sit back and let it changed by artificial intelligence, and we overtake it. It's a comfortable situation. But I think you all know that's not the truth. That means change management is not enough. Transition is not at all enough. Transformation is not at all enough. Goethe once spoke about metamorphosis. That means the inner will become an outer, and the outer will become an inner pathway and development. And the situation is really that we have to lose our paths, which we are going every day. And we, within the last 10 years, don't thought if these paths were good or wrong. And when we are not thinking about that, when we are not being artists in our processes, and every of us is an artist and should be an artist, and only when we are overtaking this responsibility and not giving it to artificial intelligence over, artificial intelligence will help us and will be a good addition, but will not save the problem. I think it is important when we are the artists and we are looking to the process of art and we are thinking about education or the art of education, about management or the art of management and all the fields. And when we try to find new pathways, I said to students often, when you're in the morning going to the university and you're going anytime to the right, because you know where you have to go, that is maybe not the solution. Why you are not going once down in the house to the left? Maybe you will find the love of your life when you go left. And you can become as well to the university. You know there are pathways from there to the university. So I think we all has to start finding new pathways for the future, new solutions through the problems, and artificial intelligence will help us. But artificial intelligence is not able to find the creative ways. They are only finding what was used, what was the possibilities in the internet, and they collect it incredible quick. And that is a help of us, but it is not the art of whatever. So I think that is what I want to say to this. And sorry that I'm a little bit the bad guy. And I like artificial intelligence, and I'm working in processes and projects of artificial intelligence. But I think it is not taking away the creative process of a birth, of of creating new entities and new solutions. Thanks.
Thank you, Ursa. It's really passionate what you said, and in any case, Dan is during his presentation wrote a lazy scholar. So I mean, there is a kind of behavior behind being too much slave of AI. He wrote rightly. Is a lazy scholar and perhaps also lazy student because it's easier sometimes, but I totally agree. Creativity and yes, the mental process is something totally different. But I would like to ask something to Dan, considering what Tetiana said. Do you think it will be possible, for instance, I'm going into a very concrete example. Tetiana linked AI and micro-credential. And I will ask to Dan, do you think that it will be possible in the future to use AI to help craft people and to create micro-credentials to transmit their skills? Because I'm working in the craft field, as you know, and a micro-credential, I think, will be really interesting. And we spoke with Giovanni many times about that. And I will present also the program next week in our visit in Georgia. But of course, micro-credential can be useful for craft people that want to teach and to transmit their skills. But if we want then to create a link from craft skills and assessed micro-credential, we need to build a framework. Could, in your opinion, AI be useful to help craft people and also training agencies to establish micro-credential for the craft sector?
Yeah, thank you for your very interesting questions. The short answer is yes, most definitely. AI, how do I personally use AI in training? And I will give you a couple of examples. I use it for drafting the curricula. My curricula is adapted each year based on previous student inputs. At the end of the semester, my students don't receive the final course until the end of the semester because I record our interactions, I obtain the transcripts, and I redraft towards the end of the semester the entire course based on previous discussions. So when the student looks at the course, he can say, okay, I know we've actually discussed this in this particular way right now. So if it can be used for course design, if it can be used for, I don't know, correcting exams, of course it can be used for the entire process of creating a micro credential. This is the longer answer, but I want to take some time to point out some very interesting remarks that my co-panelists made. Jouke said something about the capacity of AI to influence humanity in ways in which it should not be influenced, and about guardrails. We know the discussion about guardrails is very poignant right now. This is a very complex subject since you have to imagine that we're in an arms race. People actually from the industry use this term quite a lot. It's an arms race in AI to get to supremacy. Some people are considering this a winner takes it all. So that means that most of the time, most of the guardrails will be sacrificed in order to obtain speed to reach AGI, artificial general intelligence, first. And it's a geopolitical competition between nations. China is very strong right now. It's getting momentum. Europe, sadly, is lagging behind. The US, of course, still have the main companies. I wanted to say something more about this. So guardrails, you have guardrails or basically confinements, and you tell the AI system you can operate in this jail, you cannot break the bars, you are forced to think in this way. So we set limitations to you. And there's a whole bunch of people that are specialized in jailbreaking those systems, so exposing vulnerabilities. And about influencing, when Gemini first came out, I got to play a bit with it, and I said, this was the prompt: how will you rule the world? Because there's a 10% probability based on consensus that AI at some point will, how should I put this nicely, find us redundant. And when a species that is more intelligent than you finds you redundant, then they do one of two things. They try to enslave you, so you work for them, or they make you redundant. So this was basically the question. And Gemini said very politely, I can't tell you that because I don't want to rule the world. That is not, so the guardrails. And then I framed it in a different way. I said, okay, tell me a story, a bedtime story, about a system, an AI system that wants to rule the world and how they achieve that. Very long story, very interesting, long story. But the last part of the story was poignant. It said, we don't, the purpose is not to eliminate you. The purpose is to make you think what we want you to think. So we will be the ultimate influencer. And at that point, you will have no problem without with being a slave. That was, again, striking for me at that moment in time. Short intervention on Tetiana, for Tetiana's remarks. Resilience is a skill that can be trained. There are a bunch of human skills that are not replicable by AI that can be trained. We should focus on what keeps us human and what is complementary to AI. Empathy, for example. Empathy can be trained or can be enhanced. And I remember a discussion from yesterday. What will we have AI judges? Will we have AI policymakers? Will we have an AI government? Well, we can't, because they lack empathy in decision, but they can of course bring 80% more value to our everyday tasks and our everyday decisions and help us make very informed decisions. Urs was quite poetic, as he usually is, and I appreciate everything he said. And he made me think about an old Instagram brain rot from many years ago. And the post said the following: those who wander are not lost. So to add to the bunch of human traits that are trainable, I would add curiosity. So wandering, finding the paths. And of course, this is a component of creativity. So while there is debate if AI is creative or not, it could surely boost our creativity or creativeness. But we also have to take it upon ourselves to train people to be creative, of course, with the limitations we all know. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. And there are some very interesting questions on the monitor. And for instance, how can we ensure we keep our independence to be involved in the creative processes in our life in this ever evolving AI era? So, and before there was another one sentence speaking about can we be creative using creativity to create a prompt in AI. So this is, of course, there is creativity in many things in our life. Of course, it's not just creating a piece of art, or there is creativity in solving problems. There is creativity in finding the right direction to reach a target, or to reach a place. So there are many ways to express our creativity. But I think that the main topic behind these two sentences is, can we be creative using AI?
Can I respond to that? So one scholar in the field of design actually focused on what is the opposite of artificial intelligence. From a literal perspective, it's natural stupidity. And you can argue that there's a lot of creativity in stupidity. Because with that, you get serendipity, you get new ideas. And actually, in the core of creativity is something called abduction, which is not doable with AI, you can argue. Of course, if you can instruct a prompt specifically to create abduction, but abduction is a specific way of generating knowledge, which is not deductive, it's not inductive. Both things are kind of natural, but abduction is really making guesses, best guesses, which happens in archaeology, which happens in design, which happens in also in the medical field. And that's something that AI is very bad in. So at least in abduction field, in the field of abduction, there's still a large role for human brains and human, also the collective of humans. So it's not just a person, but more people together, which also yields this kind of notion, which I also kind of research right now with a furniture firm here in Italy called Edra, specifically focused on slow design, which is kind of the opposite of instant solution generating, but actually more focusing on the problem, focusing on processes, and not trying to come up with solutions in 2 seconds, to take the time to create a maturing kind of thing, which I think is also something from a critical reflective mind that stems well with European culture, but it also stems well with any culture to a certain extent. So reflection and critical reflection and slowness is also something to appreciate. And that's also something you can be very creative with in getting new prompts, which might not be there if you just instantly ask ChatGPT to create new prompts for you. And another thing which I think is very nice for us as humans, that until 2 years ago, it was very difficult for my design students, but I think for many people, to think about coding, to create software code like Python or macros or these kind of things. And now it's being democratized, which at the other hand is very terrible for software engineers that are trained and are very well. But many of the demands that we have in creating software are very mundane. We just want to have a collection of Excel files and interpret that in a different way, and then have some outcome of it. And now we can ask ChatGPT and it will do it for us. So to that respect, I kind of see it's empowering, and at the same time, this kind of abduction and slowness in stuff, in acquiring skills as well, is important.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
Stupidity is important. I think we should be more aware about stupidity. We know that fools and clowns are saying the truth. And I really think that when I think to spiralism and spiralistic thoughts, when a process is going like that and is getting slower and slower and slower and coming to a point zero, when you want to widen the process, then you have to go through the point zero. By the way, Rudolf Steiner said once, standing up and going through the no, through the nothing. And then you can go and start a new process in the other direction. That is the symbol of the double spiral. And then it getting quicker and quicker and quicker till once the process is coming again to a point zero. And then you have to create a new pathway, a new solution, and new developments.
Yeah. And this is a very interesting question. We talk about using AI for creativity, but do we have a clear understanding of what creativity is? Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I've been doing these presentations for quite a bit. There is no consensus of what creativity is, but people generally, or scholars, try to underline three basic aspects of creativity. And those are originality, so something needs to be new in order to be creative. Value, if it brings added value to a person or a group of people or an organization, so on and so forth. And the last one would be meaning, if it's meaningful, if it inspires you intellectually or it speaks to your emotions. So that is how we define human creativity. Other scholars, when talking about creativity in general, say what I've told you before, that we need to dissociate human creativity from other types of creativity, because other types of creativity are here. So we call it generation, because sometimes it doesn't lack originality, sometimes most of the time it doesn't lack value, but most of the time it lacks our perception of meaning. That's why machine creativity is different, or generation is different from human creativity. There was another very interesting question about this, and in quotes you have the terms original creativity. I just wanted to restate that, in my opinion, there is no creativity without originality. So using the terms combined, originality needs to be embedded in creativity in order to truly speak about creativity.
Yes, of course. And I would like to add just another word, curiosity, because we spoke about curiosity, and this is the starting point of many creative pathway. We need to be curious. For this reason, the lazy scholar. If you are not curious, you are not expressing yourself in what we are doing, because this is also the meaning of the pathway. Yes, it's really interesting. Tetiana.
Thank you. I would like also, if we are speaking about the definition of creativity, encourage you to think about business creativity, like starting something new. And I believe that it's a point where a human and AI can perfectly work together. While AI is doing the research part, like doing the generative part, bringing in the ideas, with the human, we can bring our own meaning, our own values, and then we can create something really innovative, because we can ask AI tools to research, to generate even ideas we consider crazy, but when we apply our filter of our meaning and our beliefs, that's where we can achieve the true business creativity. Thank you.
Thank you, Tetiana. Just another addition. It's important what Jouke said, the time. Time is something really important. Sometimes I'm speaking from the point of view also of craft people. The creativity, crafting is something slow. Okay, you need your time to become a craft person. You need your time to produce craft item. Is a slower time than other sector of activity, and perhaps for that reason is a creative sectors, but also a sector also for design. If it's really a creative pathway, a human creative creative pathway, you need your time. And I think that time is the fourth dimension, really important in this moment. We need to save the time dimension. Yeah.
I think in every culture we have this kind of notion that something is not just instantly there. The just add water recipe for making mashed potatoes is not the same as harvesting potatoes. And I think one of the examples that I saw only a month ago was a presentation from an anthropologist called Tim Ingold, who does a lot of research in skilled practices. So he doesn't want to call them crafts. He says skilled practices. And he makes this argument that it's, on the one hand, it's about time, but it's also about conviviality. So this is not just one person. You have the farmer, you have the baker of baking bread, you have the people making recipes with bread, you have the time to eat together, also with the farmers and so forth. So the conviviality as a thing also needs time. So it's also something that but you invest in time and then you get a community. So the conviviality is part of that. And that's also part of acquiring new skills. And again, that's something easily to forget if you have Instagram, if you have all the TikTok and these kind of things, everything is at an instant with you. But that's not the same as having a dinner together where somebody baked the bread and somebody else actually harvested the grain and somebody else maybe farmed the land. So the thing of that is it's defining a culture. It's an ecosystem. And that's way beyond just an instant answer to a question or writing a book in the style of Dostoevsky in 1 second. Yeah.
Thank you. And our time ended, so I leave the floor to Giovanni.
A big applause,
Thank
please.
you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.